Hey everybody, welcome to eTrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the Titan Chain snow tire chains with cams with twisted link and a ladder style here on our 2020 Nissan Murano. Now, its tire chains are a great way of biting through that snow and ice, and the twisted links are definitely going to be a very good job of that. I'd put them into the medium to high heavy duty kind of range. Definitely going to do a good job. Not going to be as aggressive as those V-bar links, so they are going to be way better for road use. Not going to be biting through those driveways or those roads as well. As you can see here, they do have that nice kind of like twisted link going across it. Gives us a lot of good contact points, a little bit more than those squares, since we aren't going to be having all that just smooth surfaces. So doing a good job of biting through that ice and that snow effectively. Now with cams too, the cams are going to make our installation very, very quick for ourselves, and they do a great job of taking a lot of that tension out, I should say. And we also have gone ahead today and thrown on a rubber tensioner. We'll break that down in our installation process of why we had it on there. The cam system on this guy makes it pretty quick too, so I am a pretty big fan of how fast and easy this is to do. One big thing to note though, the Murano does sit a little low, so of course with any kind of or snow tire chains, I'd recommend trying this out just a few times in our own garage before we get it going. However, definitely not going to be taking us too much time to get used to it. One big thing to note, we do have this on our front tires today, and that's because most Muranos are front wheel drive. However, make sure we are consulting our vehicle owner's manual guide. Some of them are all wheel drive, but to be safe, we are going to be doing a good job of throwing these on our front tires. Well, now our installation is going to take too much time, but one thing I did want to point out is this ladder style. What's happening here, as you can see, I can fit a whole hand in between each of my spokes on this chain. What that's going to do, it's going to give us a lot of start and stop maneuver. So we're really going to do a good job of getting a lot of traction, especially when we're going straight on a lot of things. One thing to note with it, when you are turning with these styles, you are really going to feel those bumps. And so it's really going to start impacting that turning radius. It's not going to get rid of it, but it is going to be impacting it just a little bit. So it's definitely something to keep in mind with those ladder styles. Well, like I said, that installation is not going to take us too much time. Let's go ahead and take a look. For our first part of our installation, we want to go ahead and set out the entirety of our chains. I want to make sure we are checking for any kind of kinks or kind of rollovers on our chains. As you can see today though, we've done a good job making sure we don't have anything that's binding it up. Another quick thing you can check too is to make sure your cams haven't fallen in on themselves already. So in this position, you can see it is going to be tighter on itself. That's going to make our installation just a little harder. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that for now. And that way we are ready to use them later. One thing to note is we want to make sure that our pinch points are actually sticking away from our wheel. So what I'm going to end up doing is actually draping this across the entirety of my wheel. So as you can see, the smooth side is what is actually going to be making contact with our wheels. And of course, a great way to see too, we want these cams pointed on the outside. So as I lift our back end over it, our cams will be hanging right here on the front face of our wheel. Well, let's go ahead and grab it. I find it can be a little easy to try to find that exact middle there as we are going, just getting it ready for ourselves. And then I kind of like to wing my arms a little bit underneath it too. Can really help to kind of make sure we aren't scratching that rim as we get it set. Pulling it over and setting our back end. There we go, make sure we're nice and even on here. You can see I have a little bit more extra on this side, so I'm just gonna go ahead and adjust it accordingly. Now that I feel that I'm ready, let's go ahead and make our first connection on the back side. So here I am on the back side underneath our Murano. You can see not a lot of room to work with. Now I'm somewhat of a bigger guy, but you can already see my shoulders are having a hard time getting underneath here. So definitely gonna be a little bit harder for installation since we set so low, especially if you have a lot of like snow and ice on here. Can definitely tell it's gonna make it a little uncomfy. So I definitely recommend maybe doing this before we actually get in that hazardous terrain. However, sometimes things happen, we're stuck, we're definitely gonna have to work with it. So all we have to do is take our S-hook in the back here, taking our extra bit of chain and just making our first connection. I'm gonna go ahead and go to our second point of contact here. It can help too to kind of fit this chain, loop it like so, and then to really find that contact point that you want. Looping it through like so. And there we have our connection. Now you are going to have a little bit of extra chain here. Now if you find yourself having this quite often, I might go ahead and snap these guys off. That way we don't have them banging around on the end here. Now it isn't going to be too crazy long, so this won't be causing any kind of internal damage on our hub or anything, but definitely something I would probably remove if I'm going to be utilizing these guys a ton. Now that we have our back connection set, we want to bring ourselves back to our front here. We want to go ahead and take our cam lever on the very end, taking our extra little bit. Today we already are pretty tight, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put in that first section there. And you are gonna see it's gonna be just a little loose, but all we have to do, bring this lever back, bringing it right back to that extra link. You can see it is a little loose here, but I'm gonna go ahead and utilize our cams to actually make sure that this is nice and tight. Now that I have that first connection made, I want to go ahead and make sure that I have my cam tightener with me. It will be included with our purchase, and it makes it very easy to go ahead and start utilizing these cam levers. You can see here that by switching this around, by pulling this chain up, we're going to really reduce the length that our chains are be sitting in. So to do so, I just place that right in the middle and give it a quick little turn. Pulling that in, you can see how much that actually reduces this. You can already see really good, doing a good job of starting to tighten up. So I'll go ahead and repeat the process. One thing to note, let's make sure we aren't pressing too much against our tire with this cam. It is metal. Now it shouldn't be doing anything too crazy. We definitely don't want to puncture that sidewall. So you can see, just repeating this process all the way across. Definitely getting a little bit more tight here. Go ahead and see if I actually need it down low. Now I do have a little bit more room here, so I think I am gonna go ahead and really force this last cam. But to do so, before I get ahead, I wanna make sure I am pretty well set here, giving myself just a little bit of slack if I need it. And let's go ahead and really try to crank this guy down. Not quite all the way there yet, as you guys can see. So I went ahead and reset and make that last little pivot. So you can see how much play that takes out. Definitely nice and tight all the way across our tire. Well, now that we have it nice and tight across our wheel, those cams do a great job of making that installation that much quicker. So you can see we could leave it loose and then really tighten it in. However, as we are driving, we are going to find these guys just to shift a little bit, including the rest of our chain. So it can be very helpful to go ahead and purchase up a rubber tensioner as well. Now this is the Titan chain one, and all we have to do is loop this around. Let's make sure our hooks are pointed away from our tire, of course. Don't want to be doing any kind of damage, of course, around it. And then we just kind of want to go in a star pattern here, distributing that weight as effective, or that tension as effectively as we can. Just taking it across, going it opposite across from where we started. This guy's a little tricky here, just with that lever being in the way, but I'm gonna go ahead and make it work here, as well as in here. And for our last point, we'll bring it straight across and hooking in. So as this guy shifts, this rubber tensioner will do a good job of pulling everything into the center once again. That way we maintain that nice tight connection across our wheel. Well, as you guys saw, that installation didn't take too much time at all. The biggest thing to note for me though was how low the Murano sits. It's pretty hard to get back in there, especially if you're like me, you got a little bit bigger shoulders, especially if we are gonna be, primarily utilizing this when we start getting stuck in snow and ice. However, if we are throwing this on the garage at the beginning, I think it's a great little option. And I think that's where the Twisted Link really starts shining for me. You are still getting that medium to high, heavy duty application. It'll bite through that snow and that ice. Not nearly as effective as those V-bars. However, those V-bars are gonna be way harder to throw on just kind of willy-nilly before we get going. So those are great for getting out of that muck and mire. These are gonna be great for preventing us from getting in them. So definitely a great little action there for ourselves. Well, I think that about does it for a look at the Titan chain snow tire chains with cams here on our 2020 Nissan Murano. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.